stories that we tell ourselves, like this is something that we work on quite a lot, the stories that we tell ourselves. Like when I'm messaging a certain person, I say to the girls, are you thinking, well, they're not going to reply because they've got a certain amount of followers? Like we just create these scenarios in our head and it completely puts us off. So when we talk about creating the stories, Ben in the business always says, well, it's lies. You're just making it up. How do you know how other people are going to react? It's all just made up in your head. So I say at the moment, well, what if I can't be a good leader? What, like one of my blocks is, what if I can't be a good leader? What if I can't lead my team to success? And he was like, but you're just making that up in your head. Like you're doing like a good job. Stop putting yourself down. Stop thinking that you can't do it and creating these stories, because that's how blocks are created. So I know that one of my girls says, well, I haven't really got many friends, like I don't really know what to do in the business, like they're not really supporting me. And I'm like, but that's just your perception of it. Like if you continue to do it and continue to grow, they will follow you. She's like, oh, I'm not going to be well, not going to do well in this business, I'm not going to be able to get anybody on my team. So you just automatically create these stories from your past experiences, from how you've dealt with things in the past. And again, it's all about stepping out your comfort zone.
And like, you know how this works. I was really, in a way, it's funny because if you come in with a mindset that I will not be successful in this business, so what happens is now you see any single reason why you're not successful. Oh, this person didn't respond. This person did that. So what happens is that now you have all the proof why you are not going to succeed. Now you take that on and you keep feeding that belief, but it all started with you having the belief that you will not succeed. So it's all, you literally started it yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else, but you actually were the one who started it. That's what I noticed within myself as well, that I would just assume things. Let's say when I was like really, when I was like younger, I think I still experience it. Like I had really high like social anxiety. I don't identify myself with it. I don't put titles on myself, but I knew that I would be like, when I'm around people, I would get like really like insecure. I would have closed body language. For years, I wasn't even able to look that person in the eye. I would just look somewhere else. I was like really shy, really like quiet, and I started working. I don't even know. I think that helped me to understand that I was like insecure and stuff like that, and get into like psychology, because I didn't really have anybody to go to. I was starting to look for answers in books, but like then years later, when I would like I started, I don't know, I started to write people on LinkedIn. I would just find somebody who is in a business and I'm like, hey, my name is Austra. I'm looking for, I see that you're doing business or you're like entrepreneur. Do you have any advice for me as somebody who is starting off, or maybe some tips or advice? Just like writing people. And people started responding. I would get on a call with them and I would just like become more social. But at the same time, I still saw myself as socially awkward. But then when I would speak to people, they're like, wow, you're sort of like open and sort of social, and you're always like talkative and, you know, like positive. And I'm like, wait, me? Because it, like, I still saw myself as that person who is really like quiet and shy and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see how a lot of times we are too much in our heads, where we don't even see how others perceive us, where I would be like, oh, like I'm really bad at like communicating with people and stuff like that. And when I would write to my friends and ask, which is really interesting way how to get your, how to see yourself from other people's perspective, not in a way that you maybe identify yourself with it, but you can just see yourself from other people's perspective. What I would ask, like, what are the things that I'm really good at, or what I'm really bad at, or what you see I should improve? And many of them, they'll be like, you're really good at communicating. Like, the way you communicate, it's so easy to understand, and like you can resolve conflict and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, and here I am thinking that I'm bad at communicating, or that I'm not like, I don't know, not social, not being good like with people or stuff like that. But it was all just some limiting belief that, if I look at it, I didn't really have proof for it. It all came from years ago when I just identified with that. But now if I look around me, I have really good, the way I communicate, I have no arguments with people. I just don't argue with people. Or like resolving issues. Most of the time it's relatively easy easy in a way that there's, let's say if I see that somebody is upset, I just won't maybe take what they say too seriously where it might trigger me, because I know that they are not really thinking straight, or even help others to resolve their like communication issues. And I'm like, okay, so right now I don't really have any proof outside of me, but at the same time, like a lot of times what happens is that we still identify with that like old self or something that happened or the way we were in the past. And now when you actually have progressed, it's really helpful actually to ask people even that know you maybe closer, how they see you actually have changed, or what they see, that even like, how do you see me? Simple question. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting. Like I had one friend who, and it was years ago, I think I asked the question, how do you see me? And he said, I see you as a leader. And I'm like, whoa. I was thinking about it for 2 weeks. I was thinking like, because up to that point, I never saw myself as a leader. I would never even consider it. But when he said it, I was like, well, maybe I actually could be a good leader. Like,
Yeah.
I started actually entertain that thought, and actually I would start to take it with me, but I wouldn't have had that idea if I didn't
Yeah.
ask that question. So it was literally, it was, I would say, 5 years ago. And that was literally like the main thing that he said in that message. But I was like, wow, I haven't thought about it. So and I had one person who also said me like, but why would you ask, like, why would you compare yourself with other people say? And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is for me, because I see myself certain way, and it can be positives and negatives, but it's important for me to see myself from like other perspectives as well, because then I can kind of build up on things that I might work on myself, or I might even see things that I'm not even aware of. Somebody else might see it, especially if it's several people that point that out. And I'm like, well, I didn't think that was true, but if you say so.
Yeah.
So it is really interesting to get that feedback, because a lot of times it's not something you even want to hear, especially if it's something that people point out you, and many times people don't feel comfortable telling you those things, what you could work on.
Yeah.
They might see it, but they don't feel comfortable saying that. But if you give them a space where they can actually say it, and you tell them that I'm not going to block you, we're still going to be friends. I just need this for myself and my development. And it doesn't mean that you have to act on everything, but it's just something that they gave you, that it's just like a feedback, and you can kind of build more rich image of yourself. At least it has given me many ideas, and it has opened my eyes in many ways, like good, like positives and negatives. So it's been really interesting to experience that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes from, like I say, the stories that you do tell yourself from a certain age. But there's usually things that have been said to you in the past. So this is something that's quite interesting to me. So, if somebody actually says something to you, you can't do that from an early age. You know, if your teachers say, "Well, you need to be going to school, you need to be getting a full-time job," that's the way you're programmed at an early age to think a certain way. So when you're trying new things and you're testing out new things, you don't have the belief. So something that I'm really working on as well is having belief in yourself. So do you struggle with inconsistency, fear and overwhelm, self-sabotage? Like, are you constantly saying, I can't do this, I can't do that? Fear of failure, time management, saying no to people, growing your team, if whatever that might be, or growing leaders. If you struggle with all of those, you have a lack of belief in yourself. And like I say, that could be conditioned and programmed from an early age. So if you've failed an exam or something, and somebody makes a comment to you, saying, oh, you'll never be that, and then it's a programmed, you're conditioned that way until you actually realize that that's what's really happening. So like I say, if you're in school and you're not doing well in your exams, and a teacher says to me, well, you're never going to be going to university, it's like those comments from an early age that affect you later on in life. And it's having that belief in yourself that you can actually do it. So something as well, something that I think is really important, your actions don't create your results, your stories do. So something that we are working on in the business, this analogy is really good. If you have a tree, a massive giant tree, and it's beautiful and it's got all these fruits on it, all these different amazing fruits, and your fruits start dying, well, where is the problem? You'd automatically go to the fruit thinking, why is my fruit dying? But it's the root cause, because that's where all the nutrients come from. It's underground. So you have to work on yourself internally to be a better person externally, like the fruit. You wouldn't automatically go to the fruit and say, oh, that, it's died, I'm not sure, is it not getting enough sunlight? It doesn't work like that. You're rooted down. And again, that's where the belief comes into it, believing that you can actually do something, trying to get your belief up. And like I say, time management, self-sabotage, constantly putting yourself down, comes from the stories that you tell yourself from past experiences. So I think that's really interesting to understand. If it's the same with money. I'm reading a book at the moment called The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and understanding how rich people think and how people handle their money. And then an example of it in there was, were you told at an early age, well, money doesn't grow on trees, you can't have this because it's too much money? Well, if your dad was like that, for example, and you always had problems with money, the chances are that you are going to have problems with money as well, because you're conditioned at an early age. And that just completely blew my mind, how rich people think. Like Donald Trump is just like a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, but he thinks the way that rich people think. He hasn't got that victim mentality. He knows that he's worth that a lot. He has the belief that he can work that amount of money to get that amount of money, and that's so interesting as well. Anybody that wants to understand their money blueprint, that's what it's called, the financial money blueprint. Read Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and understanding that people who have money, say if they've won the lottery, for example, the chances are they'd spend all of that money because they don't think that they're worth having that amount of money. Yeah. But whereas millionaires, self-made millionaires and billionaires, if they lose money, they get it back just as quick, because their financial money blueprint is they're geared up for success, rather than somebody that gets given a lot of money. Well, they think, oh, my dad said that money doesn't grow on trees, I can't miss that money, so they spend all of the money. So that is so interesting as well. That completely blows my mind. So I'm really working at the moment, understanding the way that I think about money, because I've always been a saver. I've always been really good at saving my money. And Sean, on the other hand, he likes to spend things. And obviously we're trying to save for our mortgage, we're trying to save for our house, so it's trying to find that middle ground as well. So we're coming up with like some sort of compromises, but it's so interesting to understand your financial blueprint. And there was an example of it in the book, and this guy, he was in this family, like his family, and the wife was cooking a ham. This is the example, and I was just like, oh my god. His wife was cooking like this big ham, and she chopped both ends off of it and put it in the oven. And one of the sons said, well, why are you chopping the ends off it like that? And she said, well, my mum used to do it. So then the kid rang the grandma and said, well, why did you used to cut the ham off the end of the ham? And she said, oh, my grandma used to do it. And then he rang his great grandma and said, why do you cut that ends off the ham? She said, because it won't fit in the oven. So it's not because that's the way that a ham should be cooked. It's just because she couldn't fit it in the oven. And then the kids and generations have just thought, oh, well, that must be the way to cook a ham. So you watch people from an early age, like you wonder, like it's just completely mind blowing. So there was nothing wrong with the ham. You don't cook the ham that way just because they wouldn't put it in the oven. That they've always, just generations down the line, that they've just cut the ends off. So it's really interesting to see how you're conditioned at an early age. Like I've always been a saver, and when I was thinking about it, my dad has always been a saver. Like my mum has always been a saver. I was like, oh my god, like that must be why. And Sean's mum, she likes spending money. She likes going out and spending money, and he spends his money. So that is just interesting as well.
Yeah, and I think it's also important. I think many times people might even stop here. Okay, this is the way I am because of my parents. So like then the next step is like, okay, so what you're gonna do about it? You're gonna keep being this way and just like complain about it for the rest of your life, or you're just actually gonna start taking some actions to change it? So like it's like, again, if they choose victim mentality, that's, well, you're just gonna stay the way you are. And like it's, I think many times, even I was thinking some weeks ago about whether we actually have to understand everything. Because I think
Yeah.
that for me, like even when I work with people, I'm not even sure they need to understand everything. So like let's say when it comes to, let's say, discipline or habits or self-control, it's not that they have to understand all the ins and outs. They have to know enough to actually execute. Because if you know too much or you start to overthink, then you start to get in victim mentality. Oh, I am like this because of this. It's, and I think like if they start to do that work, I know for me, because I didn't have like any, I was going through that process myself. So it took me like much longer than it would have if I had like a coach or a mentor or like, I don't know, a therapist or whatever. Because I like once you go over that process and you're not really into, and you're only just starting to develop your mindset, what happened to me is that I would go over those situations and I would really get in victim mentality. Because when you become aware of why you are the way you are, if you're not in the right mindset and if you don't have the right mindset, somebody who's in the right mindset by next to you to actually help you with that, you start to identify so much that you might even go deeper in that victim mentality. Because for me that's the way it was. I would like realize, oh my god, this happened or this happened, and now I start to feel even worse. So I kind of reinforce that victim mentality because now I have a proof why I am the victim. So it was
Yeah.
really interesting to go, and it was like years ago. I don't even know how old I was. I was like, I don't know, 15 years old maybe when I started like really working on myself. But it's like years ago, like 9 years ago. And still I remember that feeling that I had, that we would like drive home and I would be in the car and I would think like, oh my god, I'm like this because of this, or I act like this because this happened to me, or this person did this to me. And I just go deeper into that like darkness, and there's like nobody who can take me out. So for years I would know where my problems, or not problems, but like where my behavior patterns come from, but I would be identified with them. And you know, it was, which is I think many people have it, is that because you think you are a certain way, it's hard for you to let go of that certain way that you are. So
Yeah.
like even when you said about the millionaire mindset, uh there's a really good book called The Big Leap, I think. And
Oh
in
yeah.
that book, yeah, in that book he said that you have certain level of what you believe you deserve in any area, what you believe you are. And once you start to get past it, you like whatever happens, you make sure you get back there. Once you start earning more money, you make sure you lose your job, or like anything like that. Once you start to get in shape, you make sure you start eating and healthy again and get back into like bad shape. And you always make sure you get back to that default that you believe that's who I am. And I think it's really important to even like become aware of what is that default, and then again take responsibility and understand, okay, this is coming from this. But like I think also at some point you might even get an identity crisis, that it's like, but if this is not me, then who am I?
Yeah. But I think that's so exciting, trying to understand what you are all about. And I think you're right when you say it's hard to not try and understand everything because it can be too overwhelming. Like when I first started doing personal development, I was like, oh my God, I'm just like an anxious mess. What the hell is going
Yeah.
on? I was so overwhelmed. I thought, am I going to be anxious for life? Is this the way I am? Oh my God. Like I was just so like consumed by the way I was. I was like, what? I didn't even know any of this. But now like I've kind of stepped back and I'm understanding which areas works for me and how to overcome it. It makes it feel a lot better. Um, but yeah, it just completely blows my mind, all of this. And like I say, I've never been into personal development. I've never really done it, but I'd highly recommend it to anybody because it's going to completely change your life. You're going to understand so much about yourself that you never really knew. You're going to probably feel a lot calmer, or you're going to know where to push yourself. You're going to understand if you're controlling or if you have this control of wanting everything to go your way. You're going to understand like to come back, and it's just completely amazing. So especially with everything that's going on with COVID and everything, I'd highly recommend for people just to start journaling, just writing down what you're feeling. And I've even got my mum to do it as well. to understand where she's at in her head. And sometimes when I see her, she's just so negative. She's like, never going to meet anybody again. Like, what am I going to do? I'm like, but you will. She's like, I'm never going to be able to afford a mortgage again. I'm like, but you will. Like, understanding that to switch straight away to that positive mindset, I mean, that's when you put it out to the universe. I am going to be meeting somebody else. I was like, Mum, you will. Like, you're just trying to keep her going and keep that positive mindset. I mean, she's picking some things up from me with that, but I think it's so hard sometimes. The more that obviously you work on it, and the more that I'm working on it, the more that I understand, and the more that I can notice it. But for anybody who's just starting out, I'd highly recommend just to start journaling, understanding your feelings, like being aware of what's going on in your head. Like, when I'm stressed at work, I know what that feeling is. Like, I know when I'm anxious, like I sometimes I don't sleep, I get that racing heart, but I know what that feeling is. Whereas a couple of years ago, I went through a really bad spell and I had no idea, and actually thought I was going to die. I was like, what is going on? I was so overwhelmed, and I ended up going to A&E, and everything was fine, bloods were fine and everything. And I was like, but I'm ill. It was like, you're just going through some anxiety, and I couldn't get my head around that. So again, it's accepting that if you are feeling a certain way, if you are feeling stressed, accept it. Like, acknowledge that that's the way that you're feeling, and it's okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to have a cry every now and then, but don't make it a permanent thing. Like, try and have that rebound effect to pull through it. And because with everything that's going on, like, it's stressful. It's a stressful time that everybody's going through, losing your job, or if you've lost loved ones, like, it's so hard. But knowing that there's another end to it, even as bad as it sounds, if you have lost somebody so dear to you, knowing that you can get past it. Like, it's not exactly the end of the world. Like, you've got so much more of your life to live. And I think it's especially in this moment that we are in at the moment, because some people are out of work, they might not get a job for a very long time. And I was actually in the town centre near me yesterday, and so many places were shut. I was going to get some new glasses, and there was like just like shutters down everywhere, and I thought it was just so sad. But something's going to happen, like something good's going to happen. There's going to be more, there's going to be different jobs out there, different things that people can get involved in. So a lot of people think that what's going on at the moment is very doom and gloom, or they're like negative, but it's going to get better. It's going to be a lot better. And I truly believe that. And I think it's so important for people to know that it is going to get better, and there are positives in everything, like I keep saying.
And I think even like with negative emotions, what you said about that it's okay to have them, like, we're human. But I think what's really important is, and I think I was talking to that in the last episode, was about when you feel negative emotions, don't identify with them, with the thoughts that come in mind when you have those emotions. Because many times when you have bad emotions, you have all the negatives come in your mind, and you start to identify with them. And then you reinforce that negative emotion, and that's how you keep feeling bad, and you just go down there. But it's, if you feel that emotion and you don't identify with it, and you just let it go, I changed the way I look at crying. Because, like, for me, I always felt like I can't cry. I don't know, for some reason, I felt like I always have to be on point, pretty much. Like, I think even I would see myself as a leader without knowing it, that I always had to be there for others. I had to support others. I had to motivate others, like, be on point. And I felt like I just can't cry. Like, I just can't. And whenever I would cry, I would always identify with the negative thoughts. And then at some point, I just shifted it towards all the thoughts that come in my mind. Sometimes I would even start laughing about them. For me, it's like I just let the emotions out. But the thoughts that come in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, really? You're thinking this? Like, there's no even like actual facts behind this to prove that this is right. So it was really interesting to see, because, like, I think once you become really aware of yourself, you can actually really enjoy all the negative things that come in your mind, because you know that a lot of, like, I remember I don't remember how long it was, like 1-2 years ago, when I was in a gym. And I had this, like, Andy Frisell calls it little bitch voice. And I had that voice in my head being like, oh, you did already like 3 sets. You're okay. Like, you have pushed yourself enough. And I'm like, is that all you have? Like, do you really think that can work on me? So it's like, in a way, it might feel weird at first because you feel like, oh my God, I'm talking to myself. But it's like you have this voice in your head. So if you don't identify with it, a lot of times it has less control over you, or it can affect you like less, rather than whatever thought comes your mind, that's true, that's me. But it's like, is it? Because 90% of your thoughts are not even like conscious, they are automatic. So how you
Yeah.
know they even are your thoughts? You just think they are because you have them in your head, but it's not a fact that they are your thoughts. So it was really like, and then I would start playing around with it, like when you're really self-aware and you really pay attention to how you move your body in certain situations. Like I would notice how my body changes when I'm around one person, when I'm in a group, and when I'm like talking to somebody else, or like certain topics, how I change. And then I would go back and I would just like reflect on it and be like, okay, how did I feel? Why I felt this way? Why did I behave this way? Why did that trigger me? And it's like what you said about the beginning of self-development, when you become aware of like, wow, I'm a mess. Like I'm an actual mess. I think one really good thing that my friend said is that if you look at if you look at it as something bad, you'll feel bad about it. But like he said that it's you can look at it as a new project. You're like, whoa, I have low self-esteem. This is a new project for me to work on. This is exciting. So I have something new to work on. So that way you actually look forward to working on it, rather than whenever you start working, you're like, yeah, but I'm still like this. I haven't improved. Like you will not improve in like a week or even like a month or few months. It takes some time, because like even you had years of conditioning to get to this point. So like you can't expect your conditioning to be like to go away in a week. Like it's not the way it works. But
Yeah.
I think it's also, maybe you can speak on this about like how important is it, how what's the role that patience plays, because I think patience is really really important when it comes to like pretty much anything that you work on, that is like you might not see results straight away. When you just work on that, like building up where you want to be, sometimes it can take years, but you have to be patient. So like how would you approach, like, or maybe how would you explain the importance of like being patient when you work on yourself or like on your goals?
Yeah, I think that comes down to the discipline side of it as well, and wanting something so bad. But again, trusting the process. Like if you want something so bad, then you're gonna do anything and everything that you can. And again, surrounding yourself with people like-minded people like me and you've connected with. So knowing that the process completely works, and journaling, I'd just completely say just journal and understand that the patience comes from there as well, and seeing the results. Like once you start seeing things change in yourself, if you remove yourself out of negative situations and remove yourself from different environments, once you start seeing a positive impact, it's that it's actually working. So I think people need to understand that, like you say, it doesn't happen overnight. Like you've got to give it time and don't quit. Like something that I say quite a lot at the moment is don't quit. Like you're going to be coming over some obstacles, like you are, but as long as you know that you can't quit, don't quit on what you're doing, because what's your why? Focus on your why. Why are you doing this? So have that understanding of why you're doing it. Is it because you want to change your life? What we say in what I do at the moment, your why should make you cry. So that you're doing something that makes you that emotional, you're going to stick it out. And when you are feeling like you can't be bothered, you're going to be having days that you feel like quitting. Focus on your why are you doing it, revert back to it. I mean, I've got my why written out on my board. I've got my vision board. That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you motivated. That's what keeps you driven. That's what helps you create the discipline. Just understanding what the reasons you're actually doing it, because the why will overcome any negative thought. The reason why you're doing it will overcome any negative thoughts and feeling. When you feel like quitting, you'll be like, well, no, my why is this big and it's making me emotional. I've got to keep going. So I think from the off, having that clear vision of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why you want to do it will help you keep your patience up. And again,
Yeah.
seeing the results, celebrate the small wins. So if you do something and you're like, oh my God, like I've just done 10 days of going for a walk, I feel amazing. Well, celebrate it. Recognize your achievements. Recognize that, oh my God, I've just finished a book. I've not read a book in 2 years. Like, understand that you're celebrating, like celebrate the small wins and recognize your achievements. It doesn't have to be a massive win. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I've done 75 days of this challenge, you know. Make yourself feel more confident, and like I say, recognize your small wins. I think that's so important as well. And not quitting. Just don't quit, because I think a lot of people do. Once things start getting hard, when things start getting really tough, people back away. But that's the time that you need to be going full pelt. When things start getting tough and you're feeling rubbish and you're feeling down, well, that's the time to start pushing yourself, because you're gonna blow your own mind. You're gonna be pushing yourself that much that you're just gonna overcome so much, and you're gonna feel amazing. So yeah, I'd really focus on what that why is, because that is the thing that's going to keep you driven.
And one thing that I read that was really interesting. So like even with the vision board, I think it's also envisioning the kind of person you want to become that will get all those like things or goals that you want to get, and also identifying with that person. So what happens is that we have our present self and then we have our future self. And many times when we like procrastinate and stuff like that, we leave all the hard work for that future self. But now, like, if you actually identify with that future self, because many times the less you identify with that future self, the more you put things off, and you just feel like, oh, tomorrow or like week from now, I gonna be super motivated, super disciplined self. Like that's for sure. I know that's going to be me. But not today. Today I don't feel like it. Like I'm chilling today. And like then when you actually identify yourself with that future self and the future life you want, that's when you actually are going to work and put in the work, because you actually feel like you are becoming that person, and by doing the work now you actually take care of that person in the future, where like rather than that person doing the work in the future, you actually do the work now so that in the future you can relax. But
Yeah.
it was really interesting like how they explained it, where it's really important that you identify with that future self, because many times we don't, and we think that, oh, today I'm lazy, but tomorrow I will be super disciplined, I will get everything done, even though I have been really lazy for last, like, let's say 5 months. But tomorrow I'll be super
Yeah.
disciplined. But it's not really the way it works. But it is really interesting. And then when you actually identify with it, for me it has been really helpful, where I'm like, wait, so now I want my future self to do it in front of me instead of me doing now. Like I rather take care of her right now so that she doesn't have to do it in the future. So I actually get it done. But it was really interesting how it was explained, and I was like, wow, it actually makes a lot of sense. And then when you identify with that, also like quantum physics as well, when you like, I also do what you said about all the affirmations and things like that. It's really important also to add emotion, where like, let's say when you say that you're confident, you actually sit down and you imagine how it feels that I am confident. You
Yeah.
actually embody it. And that's when you start to feed that to yourself, not only at the head level, but at like the body level, emotional level. And then with the goals, like I would, I have like a vision board, and then I would every day just look at it and just imagine that life, how it is living that life, that I'm actually doing it right now, even though I might not be. But it's something that helps me to get in that mindset of why am I actually doing this? What is it that I'm actually building? Because it's more comfortable not to do it. Like
Yeah.
I can easily just go and chill and do nothing. Like but
Yeah.
it's but that is what feeds me and keeps me going.
And I think if you're having those days when you're lacking in work and you're lacking in drive, your goals aren't big enough. If
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not doing this today, well, the reason why you're doing it isn't big enough. It's not powerful enough. Get over that. Get over yourself and get out of your own way.
And also it might not be meaningful, because I think many times people think like, oh, I have to set a goal to get like earn a certain amount of money, but maybe that's not what you're after. Maybe it doesn't really mean much to you. So it's important to set goals also that are meaningful to you, not like everybody else that be like, oh, like I want to be a millionaire because everybody else wants to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But like, why do you want that? What is it that it's going to give you? Is it
Mm.
freedom? So you want to be free. You said that you want money, you want to be free. So work for the freedom, not the money. Or like even
Yeah.
you want to be financially secure, that you don't have to think about money and you can live the life the way you want. Work for that, not the money. Money is just,
Yeah.
it's just a tool. But
Yeah.
it is important to set goals for, and for some it's nothing related to money. I just want to have good family life. Then
Yeah.
focus on
That's,
that.
yeah, that's what it's like for me, and the visualization as well. So obviously when you have your vision board, and as part of the miracle morning that we do, you do your visualization. So I actually do mine at night because apparently it's supposed to be more productive. So you literally just close your eyes and you vision what you actually want. So when I do it, I'm thinking about the house that I have, and when you can put senses and feels to it as well. So when you walk into my house, the kitchen is on this side and I can smell everything, and like I know all the colours. So the more that you think about it, the more it's going to happen. Whatever you keep thinking about and seeing, and if you, I mean, I've got all my goals written up on the wall. I've got them here.
Yeah.
The more that you see, the more that you're going to attract. So like I say, if you're having those days when you don't feel like doing anything, then your goals aren't big enough, your why isn't big enough. Like for me, I want to have that financial freedom to help my family. It's now time for me to help my parents retire comfortably, not because I want the dream house and the car and the shoes and the handbags. Yeah, of course I want all of that, but my parents have provided for me for all of my life. I have no other way to help my family other than what I'm actually doing. So that's my why. My why can make me cry. The reason that I go full pelt, because I've got the reason to help other people, and I know other people in the industry that I work in. They want to give back to charity, so they work full pelt and they create this life because they want that life, but they want to give back to people. So if you've got small goals, and if you haven't got times on anything as well, I find that if you set a goal and you don't put a time in it, then you're never going to do it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
keep your word. Yeah, keep your word, and keep just be that person that leads from the front. Be that person that is gaining confidence. Show people, put on a show for people that you can succeed, and put times and dates on everything. Like even when you're doing your affirmations, you can say like, in my business I am whatever, but I put a date on it because that's the date that I'm going to get to it. So that's so powerful as well. And if you're going to say you do something, well, do it. Well, even better, put a date on it as when you're going to do it, because that's more powerful as well.
Yeah, well, otherwise you just keep postponing it.
Yeah.
There's no
And that's what
deadline, so I
people
might
do.
as well just
Yeah.
do it tomorrow and then tomorrow
Yeah.
and tomorrow. So yeah, it
Yeah.
is important to set those like and even like what you said about that's what I tell to everybody. If it's not in your schedule, you're not going to do it. If you tell me you want to be more active, show me where you actually have set aside time for that. And that's when you will actually start getting close to it, rather than, oh, I want to move more. Okay, when and how, what you're going to do to actually move more, like what is an actual physical step, like what will you do? And it doesn't matter what's the movement, like it's just that where and what time you will do it. Let's say once I get home after work, I will go for a walk. Okay, cool. So now you actually have a location and action you will do. But like many times it's just like, oh, I want to eat healthier. Okay, so how will you actually know that you're eating healthier? Like how do you measure that? How you even know that you are healthier? Because I think many times what happens is that we either, it depends, like let's say when we start a new habit, we might think that we are doing really bad if we don't track it and we don't see how good we are actually doing. We just skip a few days and we think like I'm doing really bad. Or if we have like some bad habits, we think that it's actually not that bad because we're not aware of how bad it actually is. When it comes, let's say, eating healthy, it's like, yeah, like I'm being healthy, but like you actually don't, like what do you mean being healthy? You eat like one meal healthy, it's like one meal a day, is it one meal a week? Like how do you
Yeah.
measure that? Like how do you even know if you don't actually, again, like if you're not aware of it, like you don't really know, you just think that, oh, I'm being healthy or I'm being healthier, but I'm not getting in shape. But it's like, okay, so how much healthier are we thinking? Like what is actually being healthier? So I think it's important to be specific. But I think many times what happens is that when and I have seen that with many people, is that when, oh, I don't want to be specific because it's really like restricting. And I'm like, well, it's just data. Like, it's not restricting.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get better, the data is actually helping you, because then if you feel like you have been doing really well, but you have no results, and you look at it and you haven't done anything, you have done like out of 30 days, you did like 5 first week, let's say, well, obviously you will not get results, but that's when you have to be, that's when you make sure you are honest with yourself, because you actually see the data, and you just can't lie to yourself when the data is there. Otherwise you're like, I don't know what's going wrong. I've been doing everything that I have to do and nothing is
Yeah.
going right. Like, what is that everything? Like, how can you prove that you did what you said you're going to do on day 1, that you did it every day? Or like, even if you do it more, I think many times what happens is that even if you do it once a week, it's still more than never. So you feel like you're actually doing something, because you still remember when you did the last time, let's say eating healthy or like moving and stuff like that, and you feel there's no results, but you just don't see how it's actually not consistent, or it's not enough, but you think you're actually progressing, which you are, but it might not be enough for you to see actual like visible results, or like results that you actually can visually see. But it is interesting how it works, because for me it was the same with the habits and like getting in shape. Once I started tracking everything, instant change, like
Yeah.
instantly. And I was like, whoa, actually I'm in control. But before I felt like, oh, this is not possible, like no chance. Like it's just the way my body is, like, and all those
Yeah.
stories that I would tell myself. And then when I look back at it, I'm like, well, I was just like talking rubbish pretty much, like, because I got those results and I got them just because of the actions I took. And but the most important thing was actually tracking them, because before I would feel like I'm being healthy, but I would eat a lot of healthy food. So
Yeah.
eat meal, and that would like make everything worse. And I'll be like, yeah, but I'm training, I'm eating healthy, but I wouldn't see the importance of like how much you eat, or like, not in a way that I never have believed in the fact that you have all those like crazy deficits where you just eat and you feel like you are starving. I have never believed in that.
Yeah.
But I would feel like I have to eat healthy, but I didn't measure any of like macros and stuff like that. And once I started doing that, I just became aware. It wasn't that I became like obsessed with all those things. I was more like becoming aware in the process of how much is what. So I just raised
Yeah.
that awareness. And I stopped like tracking everything, because then I would focus more on like um, pretty much like listening to my body. Do you want to eat this? No. Okay, cool. We're gonna eat this. Or like, do you want this much? It's like I was raised that you have to finish all your food. And now sometimes when I finish my food, or like I don't feel like finishing it, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna finish it like later on, or like tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it. I'm not like, you have to finish it.
Yeah.
So there's been like many lessons that came from just like tracking myself and becoming aware. But it didn't feel
Yeah.
like restrictive. It felt more like, even like I became more free and more in control, which is like the opposite what many people might assume. Which for me even was interesting, because I was like, I'm not going to track what I'm eating. That's like, no, that's not for me. But when I started doing it, I'm like, okay, I'm actually aware of all those things, and it's been really helpful. But it is interesting how all these things work. And it's, I think everything is still like, we never really stop learning. It's
No.
like it never ends.
No. And it's so funny as well, because when you actually think about somebody trying to getting fit and healthy, when they hire a personal trainer or a coach, because they have that structure, you see results.
Oh yeah.
So because they have that structure of, well, I've got to do that on the hour a day because my trainer's going to be there. They see the results because somebody else is
Yeah.
saying they need to do it. So sometimes when people have to do it on their own, they just don't do it. And again, that's all comes down to motivation, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But
and there's
I
also accountability that comes with
yeah,
having a coach.
accountability. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it comes down to how much do people want it. I mean, if some people aren't actually knowledgeable about fitness and training, then I'd highly recommend to speak to somebody. Like, you can speak to somebody in everything that you're trying to look for, even if it's like a mentor or a coach or a personal trainer, or even some therapy and some that kind of thing. Like, there's always somebody there that's going to know more than you, that you can actually just speak to. So yeah, I've been the same with training, and I've always like been quite conscious of what I eat, but I am trying to find that balance now. I thought I had found that balance, but I completely haven't. So I am getting a lot better with that. But for, yeah, I've always trained for a very, very long time, and you see people creating like really massive results from having like personal trainers, and that just completely blows my mind as well. So obviously when we can get back into the gyms, it's going to be amazing, and I think everybody's just going to be in such a happy space, aren't they? They're going to be so positive. People are going to be so ready to be going out, and yeah, I'm so excited to get in there on Monday. I'm going to be in the gym first thing Monday morning.
I'm the same. I can't wait. I literally have like countdown of how many hours left until gym's open.
Yeah.
Because like for me it's the same. When gym's opened, I think in like August, that's when I got more in like really training and all the like habit tracking and stuff like that. And that's when I got like real results. And when they closed, which was funny looking back, is when they closed, I'm like, that's it, I can't train anymore. I will not get any results. But it was just like one limiting belief, like what we were talking about, limiting beliefs. It's just that for me, it was like, see, this is the proof why I have to get back where I was. So like that's when I would have like several months where I would still train and stuff like that, but it wasn't at the same level, like nowhere near. And in my head it was like, yeah, but like I'm losing all the progress I made in like all those months with like consistent training, and I was going like really full speed. I was like really serious, really focused. And I was like, yeah. And that's when I got like really off track. And now when I started 75 hard again, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Like I'm so out of shape. And in a way, before I would feel bad about it. I would like beat myself up and stuff like that. But now I'm like more excited to see how far I can actually go.
Yeah.
And like it's all about learning those lessons, because like from last experience, even now like gyms are closed, but I'm still training like mad. And I'm like, okay, so I don't need gym to get in shape. So that's like another limiting belief where I prove, like that's what I have been learning, to prove myself wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think this, prove yourself wrong. You think you can't finish it, prove yourself wrong. Because many times we think we know ourselves, but we just know part of ourselves, where like a lot of times we haven't even challenged ourselves. We haven't really pushed ourselves to like be out of our comfort zone, or go to the extra, so like go that like extra mile. Even like with running, I've never been like a runner, like never. The most I would run would be like 5 kilometers maybe. And now I've been running like every day, and it's been it's been really hard. Like last 2 days I haven't been running too much, because my legs are just like, I can feel that they are like on the edge. I can barely walk in the morning. But I'm still showing up. And for me, even like yesterday, I was like, okay, I might take a day off. But I still went for like, I think like 20 minutes, because in my head it's like, if I'm not going to show up, I will think about it all day. So I might as well just show up, even if I'm like walking half the way or whatever. But I still need to show up just for the sake of showing up. And it's been really
to prove
helpful.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So now I can't wait until gym's open.
Yeah, so excited as well. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, so like what are your next steps? What's the future looking like? Anything.
Well, I've been studying project management for the last 2 years, so kind of getting into that. That's the route that I am going down, with the company that I do work with. But obviously then the network marketing side of it as well, I'm going to be really focusing on that, because I'm very passionate about helping people getting to the best shape, using the products, sharing the opportunity with people as well. So that's something that I'm really going to focus on. But I'm quite lucky to obviously still have a job. Like, that's my main priority at the moment, is getting my career up and more with my project management stuff. And I'm quite lucky that the company are supporting me. They've just put me through, they are putting me through an internal program, which is a chartered management one. So they are completely supporting me, and I'm so grateful for that. So the next step for me is to be a full project manager. At the moment, I'm working towards like being a junior one, just to try and get my experience up. So in the next couple of years, it will be project manager, and get into the to the next titles in the company that I am with, the network marketing company, and helping so many more people as well. Like the network marketing side of it isn't about me, it's helping so many more people, show them the full potential and help them get confidence, overcome their anxiety, and just to become the better version of themselves. Yeah, so I feel like my journey is just only just starting for me, and I'm just so excited. Like I'm so excited to connect with new people like I have with you, connect with more like-minded, strong people, make more friends, and get to meet with people as well. And I think that's what it's all about. You should be meeting new people, and you should be connecting with people. Like I say, if you are in that negative headspace, go and find some new friends, go and find some new connections, because there's us on Instagram, isn't there? There's people in different like groups, and if you're a mum, like you can go to like mum groups. So yeah, I think it's going to be quite exciting. Obviously, with everything that's been going on COVID wise, it is quite sad, but this is like a rebirth. I think there's just so much possibility.
Yeah, well, it's a way how people can even start to appreciate even physically meeting people.
Yeah,
just appreciate being with somebody, because like I have seen many times that people are physically, they meet each other, but they sit on their phones, they are not really present. So it might be a way how they can start to like being away from others for this long can be a way to learn and appreciate actually spending time with them, when you actually share the same space and you can have conversation in real life
and create those memories as well, because I've been in situations just on your phone, and it's like with a lot of people obviously passing away, time is so important. You get one life, it's so precious. So I really do hope that people are more conscious and they're more wanting to be around people and create those memories, because like I say, it's just so short, the time that we do have here. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the future holds. Maybe me and you will get off at some point. What are your
like you never know.
What are your plans? Are you moving? Are you moving somewhere?
Not yet. Still working on too many things to think about moving somewhere, but it is in my mind, so we'll see how that goes. But just taking things one step at a time. Yeah, it is something to look forward. Just getting out of comfort zone, really. It's like if I start to feel too comfortable for too long, I feel like I need to add something that's out of my comfort zone. It's like
challenge yourself.
Yeah, it's like a craving for me. Once I start to feel too comfortable, I'm like, I need something that is outside of comfort zone. And it was like that for years, and I wasn't even aware of it. I just kept doing like even like personal trainer certificate, like massage certificate. I was like, I would never do that. I would be like massaging, no. Training, I'm not sure. Like everybody's looking at me. I didn't like attention and stuff like that, but I still went and did it. So it's really about like those, and it's a great experience because now I have like certificates that I can use and skills that I can apply in like different areas of life. So that's what I try to do, like learn one new skill every year. It's like every year I just decide on one new thing that I want to learn that is not related to what I do, and that's how I just see different fields, learn different things. So it's been really fun because like I wouldn't have learned those things if I didn't decide to do that.
I think that's what people need to be doing as well, pushing themselves a little bit more. If you're feeling so down and you are in that negative space and you don't know what to do, just try something new and different. Just learn a new skill, get involved in something else, go get training, go for yourself a little bit more. And I think it just makes you feel so much better trying to overcome things. Like if you've just lost your job again, it's your chance to go and do something completely new, live a life that you've always wanted to. And if you have sadly lost somebody, well, make sure you're spending time with your family, go out on days out, like appreciate everything a lot more now. So I'd highly recommend that for everybody. Just learn something new, start reading books, listen to more music, just do things that actually make you happy, because it can be positive as well.
Yeah, and it's not a waste of time as well, doing those things. Because like at first I would feel like, oh, if it's not helping me, let's say with my career, I'm not going to learn it. But now I'm like, oh, I can do massage, I can train somebody, I can create programs for myself. And it's like, it's been amazing to learn those new skills, because then you are more like, in a way, like you've
got so many options.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not really limited to one thing. You have so many things and you're really like versatile. So it's a good thing to have. And also like you see different people from different fields of life. So it's interesting to just see that and experience that rather than be limited in one area. At least like that's been fun for me. So yeah, I think this was really interesting conversation. I'm gonna see what I have, what's going on with my recordings, but hopefully nothing too bad. Yeah, maybe we might get you on in sometime in future as well, just to get an update
definitely.
on how you've been getting on and things like that, and all the things you have learned along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.